Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. Today is so wonderful because October is Bully Prevention Month. And a lot of people have stories of how their childhood completely impacts everything that they do. And today we have a guest that is not an exception from that, unfortunately, but we're so happy she's brave enough to share her message, to share her story. Today we have Caley Rose here. Welcome to Ivy Unleashed.
Thank you for having me, too.
Oh, you're so beautiful.
Happy to be
here. Just to give you a bit about Caley Rose, she is a Billboard charting artist, motivational speaker, and the creator of Confident Concerts. We love a confident building concert, don't we, Brooke? She's an empowering pop singer and songwriter whose music has been featured on Top 40 radio, TV, commercials, and film. And after being bullied in middle school, Caley dedicated her music to empowering women and students. So first of all, thank you for taking your mess, creating it into your message, sharing this with kids. I mean, that is the future, and it impacts, our childhood impacts everything we do to this day, which is great and terrible at the same time.
Indeed.
So we want to hear about your experience. I mean, our listeners, I'm sure, can relate to being on either end of that. Of your story and kind of what you went through as a kid that got you here, sharing these Confident Concerts today with students.
Yeah, Confident Concerts began because I was bullied, and it began just because I wanted to reach students and help them through the mess that I experienced and have them not make my mistakes that I made. But I didn't like myself. I didn't love myself for a really, really long time. I wanted to be the girl sitting across from me in French class because she had the good hair and the older boyfriend, and I wanted to be her instead of me. And then I realized that confidence is something that you can build. I thought that she just had it and she was born with it and she had it because she had the good hair. But no, you can build it and you can grow it and you can learn more about it and study it like I did. And then I created these methods to building self-confidence kind of after, right around the time that my music was on the radio. I started to notice that younger audiences were interested in it as well as older audiences. So I wanted to reach them and help them through that difficult time. And I started completely imperfectly. We had a different name at the time. It was Music with a Message, just because the teacher was like, oh, it's like Music with a Message. And I was like, yes, that's our name. And then we became Confident Concerts, which speaks even more to what I aim to do. And I started speaking in schools and connecting my music to my message. And then I saw the response and students, singing passionately along with my lyrics and messaging me online afterward and telling me how much they love the music and how much it's helping them. And I had to keep going because I love this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's a powerful message, right? Bullying is your why. Will you talk about your experience with bullying as a child?
Yeah. So when I was 10 years old, I had a group of friends. I was kind of new. I was the new girl in the group of friends because I had gone to a different elementary school than middle school. And one day I walked into the lunchroom and they had someone else, a boy, sitting in my seat, and they were all whispering and giggling together. And they said I was kicked out of the lunch table. And it was devastating. And I didn't know where to go, and it was really uncomfortable. And then I just kind of sat down with these other people that I kind of knew. And then more things happened, and it ended up being this one kind of ringleader girl. I actually became friends again with everybody else in the group except for her, because she continued to antagonize me throughout the years. And I don't, she was 10 years old. Like I don't blame her. I kind of am very tempted to reach out and just be like, I'm just wondering why, what was it? But I'm sure maybe I, said something that was hurtful. I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe, my mom at the time told me that she was jealous, and that's definitely possible. But I do know why, which is now what I tell kids in my Confident Concerts assemblies: hurt people hurt people. Mm-hmm. And that's just a fact. I mentioned Taylor Swift, and I'm like, Taylor Swift never comes into my live streams where I'm playing music and says, you stink, or anything like that. Mm-hmm. She's living her best life. She doesn't need to be unkind. And so it's bullies come in and they try to make you feel small in order to make themselves feel big. And then I ask the kids, does it work? Heck no. And you know why I know that? Because I was unkind to someone else after that happened. And I can't take it back, and I feel terribly about it. I've messaged the girl on Facebook, but I don't think she uses Facebook, so I can't track her down to say I'm sorry. But I feel terribly about that. And so it becomes this cycle and this chain of bullying, and it's terrible, but we have to try to stop it and end it. And so that's what in my assemblies I'm talking about, how to become an upstander to bullying and try to stop the cycle, and what to do when you're bullied, how to build your self-confidence back up. Because I didn't get that until I was probably in my 30s.
Oh, wow. I'm so happy too. Like I think about, I hear my kids singing songs they're singing at school, which are like mostly meaningless. I mean, they're learning
What are
music.
they into?
Well, it's like, whatever these new American songs, the patriotic songs, whatever, that's cool, whatever. But it's like to have a song that's helping you build your self-esteem, that's giving you tools to stand up for yourself or believe in yourself. Like what a beautiful thing. And something I think is kind of really hard to even tackle is, their brains are underdeveloped. Like you said, you made the same mistake. You feel bad about it too. Like we all cringe about things that we've said when we were a kid that we knew were unkind because we're testing the waters or we're insecure about something or, we're fighting back. And I think it's such a tricky thing as a parent to navigate, trying to give them the tools, but ultimately they have to go through it. Like they have to make the mistakes, or like, I'm sure your mom was trying so hard to help you, but you're the one that has to go to school and put the dukes up and like fight for yourself. Yeah. And so what was that like navigating? It sounds like you had a mom that was very in tune with what you're going on and trying to help you. How was that navigating what she was saying and kind of putting it into practice and trying to get through that time?
Yeah, I mean, I do remember the bullying thing. I remember that she tried to keep me away from that girl and get me in a different class. And I think sometimes, like, I've talked to a lot of parents now of kids who are bullied, and one in particular I'm thinking of in Colorado. Eventually, they had to move that student to another school in order to just get out of the situation. And I'm sure it feels like a little bit like a surrender because now you have to uproot your child's life and move them. But in the end, it was for that student a positive experience. Not everybody has that ability or luxury. So you have to make the best decisions you can. And unfortunately, there's no magic answer. It's such a gray area and we don't know what those micro decisions, how they're going to impact our children down the line. Now I have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. Everything I say, I'm like, is this going to be the thing they go to therapy for?
Same.
Yeah, but at least they're in therapy if that's the case. So we're just doing our best. But now, of course, I remember my mom's words and I think, yeah, it probably was jealousy. But at the time, I mean, what helps? It's so hard, like I think you look for comfort where you can find it and hopefully you have love around you in other places. But someone said something hurtful or someone did something hurtful, it's hard. And it's hard to you can't forget it. And the goal, in my assemblies with these students is I try to teach them not to start believing what the bully says or what the bully does and not to let it infiltrate their thoughts. I use smaller words in these assemblies, but not to let it infiltrate their hearts. But sometimes they're getting physically hurt as well. And you can only be so strong when you're so little. And so hopefully you have that support system and other people who are making you feel good. And then you try to learn to make yourself feel good. Because one thing I've learned, I listened to a lot of psychologists and I studied psychology at Columbia. Your goal is not to be happy every single moment of every single day. It's to have methods to build yourself back up. It's impossible to live on a peak every day, right? Like we're always going to have those valleys. Yeah. I just came up with that thing. We can't live on a peak, right?
Yeah, but like you said, having the method to build yourself back up because you're going to have an off day. Things are going to happen. You're not going to make the team. You're going to have the rude kid in your class. And I think ultimately our highest self wants to give compassion to those people. Like you said, they're hurt. They're a hurt person. They're insecure. They're fill in the blank, having a tough time. I always tell my kids, like, you have no idea what's going on in their home. It's also not okay for them to treat you like that.
Nope.
So it's that balance of like, having compassion for them having probably a worse off situation than you do. But what you're seeing is you're trying to take your math test and someone's calling your name. Like it's tricky.
Yeah. It's such a gray area. And I'm talking to my 5-year-old about gray areas all the time. And I'm just like, is this too advanced of a concept? But it's true, and now we're adults. It's still like online when I live stream, some people occasionally, luckily, will come in and say something negative. And if they do, my response is now, instead of curling up into a ball and crying like I would have done in my 20s, maybe even early 30s, now I'm just like, hey, are you hurting? I'm so sorry. Like whatever's going on in your day, I really hope you're okay. Because I'm not going to let it infiltrate this. Like the people that care about me love me, and I love myself finally, and I now have that armor built. But it's funny, I was thinking when I was getting ready, like, what was the moment? How did I finally become confident? Because I remember being like 29 and sitting with a co-writer who wrote my song That Chick with me, and he was in my songwriting class with me, and I'm very vocal, and I raise my hand and ask tons of questions, and so he thought I was confident. And then we did this co-writing session. He was like, oh, you're not confident, you don't like yourself. And so I remember that. And then building, like, it's so many little things that you have to collect for yourself to start liking yourself, and so many books you need to read and podcasts you need to listen to in order to get that information, that sense of self. But mostly it's a decision. Like, I remember being like 25 and thinking, oh, everybody tells you this is the youngest you're going to be and the fittest you're going to be, which also not fittest, not true. Like, it doesn't have to be true. Yeah. But thinking like, wow, and I don't even like myself now. I better start working on this. And so doing that work and choosing to do that work is the most important thing.
I think especially being a songwriter and a musician, to put yourself out there on that level, that confidence. What was that like when were you always a musician? Kind of talk about when that became a part of your life.
Yeah. I mean, the vulnerability of being a songwriter, even right now, I don't know if you guys have seen online, but I released truly my most vulnerable song yet. And it was the one that I was afraid for my mom to listen to it. Like, I have my empowering music and then I have my artist music. And this just like, it shares so much of my heart and my family. And it's always scary. Like, that's the thing, like, you don't get used to it, but I think you have to do it. Like, there's a compulsion inside of you to tell the truth and share. I'm not good at keeping secrets. I'm not good at not giving my whole self. And it feels so empowering when I do. And so getting that little bit of confidence from that every single time, when one person messages me and tells me that song helps them, when another person does, like, all it takes is one. And I think that you have to get these stories out there. And so it's a duty to other people, and it's so much bigger than yourself, So like, I'm always going to be scared before I step on stage because anything could happen, even with these little kids. I mean, truly, the other day, I had a student vomit in my assembly, and it's just like, this happened.
And I saw you were on TV and your like piano collapsed in the middle of live television. Like, you really have probably seen it all and had to just adapt.
Keyboard collapsed right as I was ramping up for that final chorus. I was going to sing it the biggest, and boom. And actually, I appreciate you seeing that, because wouldn't it have been a great moment if the anchors had both held the keyboard and I had just finished? But I think they were like, that poor girl, like, just get her out of there. Which was kind too.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. And I'm back on that show since, and they didn't even mention it, so that's funny.
So when did you start singing?
Oh, singing. I was always trying to sing, for anyone who would listen. And then I started taking private lessons when I was 8.
Okay.
And then did a million choruses that traveled around the world. And musical theater came in, because that was kind of the only outlet in high school for singing. I mean, we had chorus and we had musical theater. And then I read The Secret when I was maybe 24. And that kind of unlocked this idea of, wow, we can truly do anything in life. And what I'm listening to secretly as I'm studying musical theater is pop and R&B music. And so I was like, well, there are people living that life and making that music, so why don't I? And then it morphed into kind of singer-songwriter, pop singer-songwriter vision, because that's what I kind of just naturally write, pretty stuff that is emotional.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So my whole life. But songwriting came much later. That I didn't find until I was like 30, 31.
You mentioned that you studied psychology at Columbia?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was like my dream college growing up.
Really?
Yeah, I had a little period of my life where I thought I was going to be a doctor and go to Columbia, and I studied my textbooks every day. Speaking of bullying, people made fun of me for that one. But
It's incredible.
But how did you, I mean, I love that you have this psychology background, because I'm sure that helps you with these confident concerts to kind of figure out how their brains are working and what they can grasp. So how does the psychology kind of play with what you're doing now and weave together?
Yeah, now it just feels like, oh, of course it makes sense. Like, I've always loved music and I've loved the human brain. Even in high school, I did this summer program and I could pick anything, but I think it was mind, brain, and behavior at Brown. And it's just fascinating to me. And then at Columbia, I mean, I was doing off-Broadway theater and I was doing a cappella and like every musical on campus. I did too many to the point where like I almost lost my voice because I was in too many things musically. But I was also just taking classes that I enjoyed. And so that ended up being psychology and art history. And I just did that because they had theater, but it was at the girls' school at Barnard. And it just felt like I went to Columbia. It makes sense for me to get the classes at Columbia. And now, yeah, it all comes together. So in designing these methods to building self-confidence, I did rely on what I had learned in psychology. And then I also called in a bunch of experts, some people from our networking group, as we know, to just help me finesse the tools of building self-confidence for each age group. So like elementary school is going to need different methods for building self-confidence than high school, than middle school, et cetera.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And what I think about is anybody in the music industry, whether you're auditioning in college for something or you're putting out your song, is like the insecurities that can come up. I'm sure you got some negative feedback sometimes, and like how that doesn't like affect you forever. You know, I would try not to internalize that, but that would be hard, especially when it's something you love so deeply. So how have you navigated the insecurities that can come up from, you know, auditions or feedback from music? Like, how has that been?
I mean, there was a time I remember at one point somebody told me, like, you're going to have to get a thicker skin eventually. And I was like, how? Show me how, you know? And I think it comes from just going for more no's all the time because they lead you to the yeses. I mean, if you could see how many times I have pitched to different like media outlets or playlists or anything, it's still going to hurt. It's still going to sting, but you feel your feelings and you pick yourself up at some point, right? And if you have that fire and that fuel to keep going and help people with whatever you're doing, you have to. And I think that is the most important thing that I'm saying to these students in this assembly. It's keep going, because it used to be, I would say like, oh, anything can change your life. You can get a phone call, you can meet someone, but then that puts the stimulus for change outside of you. And so now I'm like, no, you get to decide how to change your life. Like even during COVID, it was such a realization for me. My husband and I had like a little disagreement, and I was like, I feel like, you know, you should get us out of the house to take walks, and you know that I need to be outside. Why aren't you planning walks? And he was like, no, you know you need walks. Like you should be planning walks, in the most loving way. And yeah, it was an epiphany in that way of, oh, I get to make myself happy. If I know certain things or what I need or what I want, this is my life to choose. And so I'm trying to think of how that circles back to rejection, but it is in our control how we feel about things. And also, my family member was moving to South Africa, and my voice teacher, who kind of ended up being like a life coach as well, she said to me, you're choosing to be sad right now. And I was bawling like it was a loss. And she said, he hasn't died. He's still here on this planet. You're choosing to cry this hard. And I was like, what an insensitive comment. But yeah, you know, I was indulging in that sadness, and I could have framed it a different way or told myself a different story. And so much of who we are and the life that we live is the stories that we tell ourselves and how we are choosing to react to it. So
what about music has been so healing for you, and bringing that into schools to help kids have that be their outlet too? Will you talk about that?
Yeah, it's so fun. And it's funny, Andrea, you mentioned your kids learning certain songs. And I remember certain songs stayed with me from my youth, and they did not build up my sense of self. You know, they were a little bit inappropriate for me to be listening to, the one that I'm thinking of.
For sure.
And also, yeah, like learning things that I don't have a need for anymore. But if someone had taught me how to be alone with myself through music and like my thoughts and choose my thoughts, it would have been very powerful. So I'm constantly trying to rewrite my songs and make sure they're even better. So now we have 3 new songs for Confident Concerts that I'm trying to get in there. But it's always been an outlet for me. And now seeing other kids, like in this assembly this past weekend, this one school had like Saturday school for the kids. And this girl requested my song Brave Ones. Every song I sang. She didn't want to hear anything else. She was so cute, and she was 5. And I said, you know, we have to be respectful to everyone else. We're going to have a couple more songs. And we compromised. It was a small group. And so I was able to say like, okay, does anyone mind if we play Brave Ones one more time and you can all sing along? And they were game for it 4 times in the span of 45 minutes. But the passion, and I have this video that I don't even know if I'm allowed to share on social media, so I have to check with the school because student privacy is king and queen. But she is passionately singing into this microphone, I'm one of the brave ones, and it's so cute. Oh. So seeing that, like music stays with us our entire lives, for better and worse, with my inappropriate song from being 10. And so hopefully it's for better, you know?
I love that. I think it's so powerful when you're thinking about, you know, you think back to school as a kid and there's just these moments that stand out, like little things that you remember. And for me, it's a lot of like the people that came into our school that shook up the routine, right? A speaker that came in. I remember one time they did like a fake car crash to show like drunk driving. And it's like burned in my brain of like, you know, because you're in your routine and it's like every day is kind of monotonous or kind of the same. And then when a school shakes it up and I think it's a great way to show their kids and the parents of the children, like we really care about these kids' mental health. Like we really care about them having this confidence, or even the kids in the room that are probably giving people a hard time, maybe have them like second guess what they're doing. And so I just want to encourage any schools listening, anybody that's connected to a school, to suggest something like this, a confident concert, because I know that you travel all over the country.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that too, because I think like you're so dedicated to doing this that you've had your family be nomads for a bit. I don't know where you're at with that, but what has that been like, kind of going around the country, having your family mobile and showing up to all of these schools?
Yeah, well, we renovated an Airstream and then we lived in it for shorter an amount of time than we thought we were going to live in it, because then I got pregnant and then my husband, like, he needs stability and I like variety, so it wasn't great for him. But we're very happy to have planted roots back in California. But I love going around the country and going to all these places. And I've since hired another performer just in case, you know, I can't be in Philadelphia on a Tuesday or something like that. But even when I was 8.5 months pregnant, performing 22 assemblies last August, I never utilized her and my back was killing me. Like I was going to different therapies for it every single day and I still loved it and I wanted to keep being out there with the kids. And then my family is so adaptable. Like my daughter, I think it developed her confidence even more, moving around to different places and meeting new friends from all over the world. Now she has a pen pal in Germany. So it gave her a lot of confidence. And we would pull into, when we were living in the Airstream, like it was always a campground basically. So then she started to, when we would pull into a campground, she would open the door of the Airstream and lean out and say, "I'm a kiddo and I live in this Airstream and I'm looking for friends." And like, we were calling
It's like Anna from Frozen. Like, anybody want to play with me? Like,
I know it's slightly sad and slightly beautiful at the same time. We recognize that. But she was confident enough to like go up to an adult when she was looking for her princess crown at a playground and ask them for help. And I was like, Sienna, no, they need to get on with their lives. But it built her confidence in that way. And yeah, I just love it. I mean, yeah, it's not the best, you know, leaving my family now that they're here and I'm getting on a plane. And sometimes I try to make it as short as possible. But the last trip I did to Boston, my husband was like, enjoy yourself. You know, he's so supportive. So having a team member like that is everything.
yeah.
And when you're performing in front of these kids, what is the message that you hope they take away?
I would say keep going. It gets easier because that's really what it is, you know, like those small moments and making it to the next small moment and the next day. But it's so hard because we know that, you know, it might not get easier tomorrow, it might not get easier next week. But I mean, I didn't realize when I was setting out to raise confidence through music that I would be talking about youth suicide, but that's what this is and that's where we are. And that's what mental health is trying to protect against. And so that's become the biggest part of this mission. So I really want them to find whatever nugget it is that's going to help them to keep going. And if it's my song or someone else's song or whatever sentence or person they need to get through, that's my hope that they keep going, you know? I hate that we're talking about that, but that is the most important thing to address.
Yeah.
And how do you address that in a kid-friendly way? I'm curious.
I mean, there are a million different ways, you know, and a million different moments. And that's why it was really big for me to notice, like, you know, when I listen to a podcast or read a book, I'm not taking every single word or sentence with me. I'm taking maybe one nugget. So I'm just trying everything I can. And that's why I'm going to experts, you know, who are top of their field to talk about child psychology and teen psychology and trying to package them in a fun song. So it's like, it's packaging all in fun, but the messages are for adults too. Like, I don't make typical kids music, whatever that means to people. I make music to empower people, and kids happen to like it because it has a good beat or it has like some claps and snaps and great drums. And I have a lot of energy, you know, more for the elementary schoolers. With the middle schoolers and the high schoolers, it's more like, oh, this just is what worked for me. It could work for you. Very, very casual.
Yeah. Do you share your story in the midst of the confident concerts too?
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. It's like, you don't want to talk at them for too long, because then they're just sitting there zoning out and they're barely listening to you as it is. They're thinking about their shoe or their lunch or that person that they like 2 rows away. But if one little thing gets in, then I've achieved my mission. But yeah, I absolutely share my story. And sometimes they've asked more questions about it. Every single assembly is completely different. Like one time they all just wanted to share their own stories and we just put a microphone in the middle of the room and let them. And it was the most beautiful thing, like heartbreaking, and they were supporting each other and beautiful. And so then I'm not like, you guys signed me up to sing 5 songs. Why am I not doing all 5? I don't care. Whatever they need in the moment is incredible. And that's why the one on Saturday, she got Brave Ones 4 times. And that's what she wanted and she got.
So does the school decide ahead of time what they want that to look like? Or I'm just trying to think if everyone's different.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I will offer to them, like, if you guys have a curriculum that you're trying to reinforce, like this week is bullying week, we definitely talk about bullying. Or in the past, they've said to me, hey, this is our acronym for leadership. Can you incorporate this into your assembly? The other day, it was like managing big emotions and empathy and kindness. Okay. And it's all mental health, and we're just focusing on a different area of it. And I bring out different skills. Like with the middle schoolers, I have them kind of walk through a meditation to try to calm those really loud negative thoughts and understand that underneath that there's silence, because that was a big turning point for me. And so it's all like, this is what's worked for me. I hope that this can work for you. Here are my little tips and tricks. But yeah, with middle schoolers, it's those negative thoughts. Yeah. And I thought that those were thoughts that I, one, couldn't change, and 2, that was who I was. That was the essence of me. And so that was a turning point. And I think it was Eckhart Tolle who talks about that silence underneath your thoughts. And if you can hit pause on your thoughts and observe the space between, well, then that is the self, which is like getting to like real philosophy and Descartes and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's the essence of being human and trying to figure out who the I is and realizing that it's not the bully in our mind. Because for so long, I had a real bully in my thoughts and I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts because it was such a mean place to be. And then realizing I could change that and be kinder was a big step.
I like that call. It's what if you're the bully to yourself? And someone else might not be bullying you, even as an adult listening. I think about all the staff at these schools. They are probably in there like, this is great.
Is this for me?
Why is she saying things that seem so true?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we all need it, and that's what someone said to me, like, you're not really there for the kids, you're there for the staff. I'm there for everybody.
Well, it's
whoever needs it today.
Yeah, it's such a pivotal time, I think, too, with technology today. A lot of these young kids are not censored. They're on social media. They're comparing themselves. And I have a daughter that's in 7th grade, and a lot of her friends are getting on these apps, and it's definitely affecting their mental health. And she's seeing it too, where she's like, I can tell my friend feels worse after she watches, YouTube shorts, or she's watching somebody get ready and she's comparing her fill in the blank. And I think about you being in there with your background of psychology, your story, and then also making it age appropriate for each, if you're in high school or middle school or elementary school, like it's just I'm so glad that you're doing this work. Like, you're the perfect person to be in there. And it sounds like you're really adaptable too, to what they need, what they're trying to bring to their school. So I'm so happy that you listened to that calling. When did you feel like when did that happen where you're like, okay, I'm going to go into these schools? Like, how did you come to that?
It was just a weird, like, I'm just going to start trying to do this. And, you look back and you're kind of like, how was I that confident or sure or anything, But I think if you start something a little bit imperfectly and you give it room, now looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like my songs didn't even connect. They weren't specifically written for those students. Okay, let's be kind to the past. And of course you're learning and growing. But when you talk about the comparison, it hurts me so much, and yet it's everywhere. And so with the middle schoolers and the high schoolers, I just try to talk about, like, yes, it's completely natural, but we get inspiration from outside sources. That's totally normal. Like, how else would we know? Oh, I want to wear my hair that way because I see it on someone else. Oh, I like, that outfit or that vacation. I wouldn't know that, Positano, Italy existed without Instagram. Maybe I would, because back in the day there was an encyclopedia, but still. But then it's, finding that balance of, okay, there's me and there's what I want, and I'm going to move toward what I want, but I still need to be kind to the essence of who I am. And then back at the end of the day, it all comes down to kindness to ourselves and others in so many ways. But yeah, using that inspiration and not like putting them up on a pedestal and making it look down on yourself. That's a big part of what we talk about. And then observing that, yeah, you're seeing people's highlight reel. You're not seeing the work that went into it. So then it's growth mindset, where we need to just keep working and trying and practicing to get to those goals. That person who can afford the trip to Positano, Italy, okay, you don't see them working really hard on their business or up at, 6 a.m. making sure they're responding to emails and stuff like that. So making sure those older students know there's a lot that goes behind it, and it's not as perfect as it seems on Instagram, on YouTube Shorts. That breaks my heart, and I'm sorry that your daughter's friends are there. And like, my daughter's gonna go through it, and I'm just like, when does the social media come into play? How long can you protect them from it?
Hopefully till she's 18. I don't know what I gotta deprive her, but right now she just knows it's a hard no. So she's rolling with it.
Do you mention anything other than social media, other than it being a highlight reel in the comparison? I'm just thinking how big it is and how much it does affect all of our mental health.
Meaning like other people or other methods?
Just any advice you would give students on mental health, or on social media.
Yeah. So also, like, when they're looking up to someone, again, it's great. That's how we learn. But also, I'm like, if you want to go online and research like every miss that athlete has had, look for the work, try to find the work, because maybe it's out there. And then like, there are, unfortunately, YouTube videos where they show like Idina Menzel missing that note in the Frozen song, Let It Go. And it's not to put those people down or bully them or be unkind to them, but just to make yourself realize how much work, how much failure goes into that. Like, even Idina Menzel, I listened to an interview with her, and she said that was like her triple axel, that note in Let It Go. And sometimes when it's, below 32 degrees and she's in New York City and she has to sing that, she hasn't been able to make it. And so we're, idealizing that one moment or that one look, and you're not seeing the person with the messy bun at their computer, I will show you every email that I've sent that got a no, like, let's open those treasure troves up and show people the messiness.
Yeah. You're not seeing me limping around Positano. I was literally just in Positano. I love that you said that. Yes. Would recommend 10 out of 10. But yeah,
You were limping?
Yeah. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see I do have my legs still propped up because we're recovering from surgery.
And that sexy sock, what do you call that thing?
Thigh high compression.
Girl.
I know, she's great. But it is true, right? People don't want to share the non-sexy pieces of life. And it is.
I wish we did it more. Maybe I should create that social media. Oh, this is like $1 billion idea. Maybe I should say it. But it's like, really, like, show me your mess,
Yeah, it makes me think
the
of
kitchen behind you.
The Spanx creator, Sarah Blakely, is that her name? Her dad, as she grew up at the table, would say, tell me about your failures today. Let's talk about everybody's failures, because it's like, if we put the attention on those things and we show up imperfectly, like you started the confident concerts, we just start to show up doing things, even though we don't totally know exactly what we're doing, but we're passionate about, and you have the intention behind it to help kids. You helped them. Maybe it's different than you did today, but it never know. Like, it could have been the most impactful concert was your first one because your heart was in it and you burned the ships and you went all in and you were just there, I think that's such a good point to focus on. Okay, see how they failed and they got back up again. See how she was not fully put together and didn't have that role yet. And she, was giving it 110%. Like, I just think that is so important. And as you're at these concerts, you're standing up singing in front of all these people and you're still nervous, like, you're doing it anyway. So you're like living and breathing what you're teaching, which is so beautiful.
Yeah. And so often I've thought, like, in the past, should I manufacture a mistake and just be like, oh, should I stop? Should I leave? Should I give up? But I don't need to. Like, sometimes it just happens because it's live. But I'll like purposely hit a bunch of wrong notes on the piano and be like, oh, what do I do? And just say, like, okay, how should my thoughts respond to that? Should they beat me up right now and tell me that I stink? Do you guys think that I should go home, like, and just give up? So yeah, like, a little bit of manufacturing a a moment, because if it happens, I'm like, oh, great opportunity to teach. And just like that, dropping the keyboard on live TV, it was a perfect moment to say, okay, everybody falls. And yeah, studying those failures, like you're saying.
I'm going to use that when we're on live TV in 2 days. So if like something bad happens, we'll talk about how we also help people with confidence and just working through failure.
There's always that reframe. And I love that that's what you're showing the kiddos. We hinted at it earlier that you travel, you're all over. So where can people find you if they want to learn more about what you do, they want to bring you into their school, or they just want to follow you? Can you share all of your info?
ConfidentConcerts.com, and it's confident, D-E-N-T, concerts, plural.com. You can find everything there. I'm Caley Rose, and I have a little rhyme for this. C-A-L-E-Y, roses in the flower, or rhythm, not rhyme. C-A-L-E-Y, because so many people are like, Caley, is it a K? No. And roses in the flower. So you can find me in all those places. And I love what you said about reframing too, because I had a friend who, when her daughter was growing up, she literally framed her failure, like put it up and said, you got a rejection letter. This is your first one. You're going to have so many more of these. I'm so proud of you. And that woman just won, I think, her second or third Emmy for writing for The Daily Show. Yes. So her daughter, who had the stuff framed, is an incredible human being. So framing those failures, talking about those failures at dinner, I love that.
Yeah. I love what we're talking about is for kids, but it's absolutely translatable to every adult listening. Like everything you've talked about with social media, feeling jealous, comparing yourself, feeling insecure, how we treat people, how we can have compassion and kindness for, like, we all need this message. You just happen to be going into schools. So I'm so thankful that you were here to talk us through this, because we all need that reminder, you know, that we can always be more confident, and it does affect how we treat people and how we show up. Unfortunately, we have a insecure day. We're kind of like, you know, more irritable and all those things. And so what a great reminder. Yeah. And we're not done with you yet. We have 3 segments we always close the show with. So first are your 3 gold stars. If you could share 3 takeaways with our listeners, what would they be?
Whew, okay. I thought about this, and then I think I talked about it all through.
It's okay. You can
when
just
you like prepare for something, and you're like, well, now it's fresh in my mind, and I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah.
We play a little game at our dinner table, kind of like the Sarah Blakely one, where it's high, low, buffalo. And so with those lows, we talk about how to bring yourself back up. We talk about why failure is helpful, and then we try to laugh about it through a buffalo, which is like a funny moment. So reframing that negativity for your kids, you know, if this is specifically for parents and for yourselves, that's really, really, really important. And you can change your own life. You can change your own thoughts. That is so incredibly important. You get to choose what that inner monologue is, and it doesn't have to be from someone else. And I have to say, keep going. You're one of the brave ones, because that's what I end every assembly on, reminding kids and adults that they're one of the brave ones. So remembering that in yourself, and remember to keep going. I promise you, it might not get easier in 2 minutes. It might not easier in 2 days or 2 weeks, but there will be a time where you look back and you realize that you got stronger. I had a hard year last year, and I had to keep telling myself that for 1.5 years. And now I'm finally in that moment where I look back and say, okay, I got through it. I'm stronger. I kept going. And I hope that you keep going.
I love that. Okay, next segment, Unleashing Ivy. Some more things we're curious about. Mine has to do, a lot of our listeners are moms. And so what advice would you give moms when it comes to bullying and just supporting their kids' mental health?
Yeah. A lot of it is modeling, which it's challenging because you're like, oh man, I have to be confident. Yeah, you do. Or, you know, doing the work on your own and then modeling it, or looking for those opportunities, even if you're faking it until you make it. Unfortunately, sometimes what we have to do. But if you're looking in the mirror and you're having a hard day, maybe trying to find 3 things that you love about how you look, you know, and if you have a challenging moment out in public and you did something wrong, try to frame how you're making mistakes in a way of a growth mindset. And so talking to your kids about, you know what, I didn't do something there that I didn't really, you know, represent myself in a way that I would have liked to, but I am learning. I am growing, and the talk in my mind, I'm trying to make it more kind in order to tell myself it's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes are how we learn. So much of that modeling of confidence and that modeling of growth mindset is important.
I love that. And I think too, we try to separate ourselves from our kids and that like, yeah, I'm older and I'm looking in the mirror and I don't like something. Speaking about that thing you don't like about yourself is also modeling what they are going to do when they look in a mirror, and they're going to they're going to find the thing. We can all do it. We can find the thing we don't like about ourselves. And so even if it's just not saying anything negative about yourself, I think it's so important, because I was modeled by a very confident mom, and she would look in the mirror and she would be feeling herself, and like, I know it translated to me finding something I like about myself, or caring less. And so I do think some of it is you're born a certain way with a little bit more or less confidence, because I have 3 kids and I've seen it. Yeah. But there's so much power in how, especially like the same-sex parent of the child models. Yeah. So I love that. And I wanted to say the buffalo is like a way of not taking life so seriously. Like, I think when you make a mistake in public, like you just said, it's so important to like laugh about like, oh my God, like I just did that silly thing. Like them seeing you don't have to take everything so seriously can help build confidence, because you can just like laugh things off sometimes.
Yeah. And it's so much more fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm from Buffalo. I don't know why that's called a buffalo. But it was a game. I am friends with a lot of therapists as well, just like through happenstance, like meeting different people in different areas. And my girlfriend gave me that game. So I don't know why the funny thing in your day is a buffalo, but
yeah,
I like it. I'm using it.
It makes you giggle.
It does.
Okay. My question has to do with the music industry, because I'm just intrigued, because I will never be in it, because I can't carry a tune. So thank you, Caley, for singing on my behalf.
You can learn anything, my friend.
My kids are listening to you on the radio and not their mama, okay? I want to talk about just the journey of continually putting effort into putting music out there. I've been listening to you on Spotify. I see some have tens of thousands, probably more than that, downloads, and some have just a couple, we're podcasters, we know how that goes. But how do you continually put yourself out there, experiment? Like, what's kind of that mind game for you as an artist, songwriter, and singer?
Yeah, I am the definition of I keep trying, I keep putting myself out there. I will never stop. Like, I always just had this image when I was going to school in New York. If I'm waiting for a cab on Amsterdam and 116th, I'm going to keep waiting for it at that place. Because if you walk away, you're just like, we would have missed one. But some people would have moved over to Broadway. So I've just always been, I want to keep on this path and keep going and keep trying. And it is challenging. And there are moments where you have to pick yourself up from a difficult time. And the music industry, just to address that for a second, it's the Wild West. Like, I have thought many times I want to help young women who are coming up in the music industry not make my same mistakes, where it was trusting a producer who said that they were going to make your stuff sound amazing and pay them a lot of money to do it, and it just was not radio quality work, which was very disappointing. Or then a second time trusting another producer who said, hey, when this is all over, I'm going to introduce you to these labels and pay me cash under the table and no contracts, no agreements. I mean, I made every mistake, but I don't want to go into law. And I don't want to go into something, like that will help young women like me fight, or young men. But, I can share my story and I can share it through music and I can do the things that I can do. But it's the Wild West. And I'm constantly trying to figure out, how to get the music to people who need it. And it's a lot of marketing, right? Like, you guys know with the podcast, it's just consistently waving at people and saying I exist until they unsubscribe or say no thank you. But somebody one time when I was acting in musical theater in New York said it's kind of like Bed Bath & Beyond, those coupons that they used to send, or now it's like digital. My goodness, I cannot find out how to unsubscribe from those, and they hide it so well. But you remember their name, or now I guess they're going out of business, so maybe it didn't work. But marketing. So I, sometimes I wish I gotten a business degree in order to better understand marketing, or a marketing degree. But it's so much of that, right? Like, we need to know that things exist in order to know that we want to play them. So studying that has been really helpful. I don't know, that feels like off the rails of confidence, but the music industry is, a whole.
No, I love it. It's like tenacity. It's like, I believe in myself. I believe in my mission. And like, why we're having you on and what we're trying to say is, like, you are perfectly qualified to be doing exactly what you're doing. And I think what we can do is elevate your voice in a way that gets this in schools. Like we need mental health to be the forefront of the focus, and have these assemblies, have these confident concerts, have people in that shake up the routine a bit, get the kids out of the classroom, do something fun, and that you've put so much thought and intention into the words that are going into their precious brains. I'm so happy, and I'm so grateful that you're doing this work. So thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys too. I mean, we're all working in the mental health space, you know, and I wish that we had more of that growing up, and we can't look back on that, but we can change, you know, what we do in the future. And luckily schools are bringing more mental health in now, and bringing confident concerts and other methods and podcasts like yours. And we're all focusing more on our brains than we were back then.
Absolutely. Okay, Caley, last question. If you could go back and tell younger Caley one thing, what age would you choose, and what would you tell her?
Whew. Oh, so many different ages. It gets easier. I mean, I keep coming back to keep going. So I'm like, bring something new. But it's just so the forefront of my mind. You know, when we're talking about youth suicide, we just want them to keep moving forward and try to help themselves. But yeah, I mean, I picture myself like crying on the bed in New York, you know, after a breakup or after a no from an audition, or just wondering what the heck to do with my life. And like, there's so much of you to love. So trying to find that, because when I was growing up, so many people would just say, love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. And you're just like, or be yourself, you know, whichever of those. And you're just like, how? But it is taking care of your mind, going to therapy, reading the books, journaling over and over and over and over again, and finding yourself through that. And it is therapeutically, scientifically proven that when we get pen to paper and we have the act of writing and journaling, it helps us. Like something about the flow of the thoughts into the hand and slowing that process down is proven to help us. So journal, journal, journal.
Brooke was just showing me her journal earlier. She's got her goals written down, baby. She is writing in that journal. She inspired me today. I'm going to be writing as soon as she gets out of here. I'm going to all my goals.
Write it out.
And guess what? One of our goals that we journaled, like we were literally hitting the exact goal that we wrote down like a year ago. So it's
Really?
like, it's powerful. It's so powerful. Like, what do you want? Or who do you want to be? Or how do you want to show up? Like, whatever it is, it's such an important thing to do, to write it down, to see it. Because it shows like you believe in it.
Yes. Yeah. That's, I mean, you know, we can talk about manifesting too. Like I'll do this, like this journal entry 6 months in the future. Have you guys ever done that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
well,
it's so magical.
Yeah, but tell us how you do it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and I want to hear how it's worked for you. So like today is October 20th. So however 6 many months would be what, April? Yeah, March, whatever. So you'd write March 20th or April 20th, and you'd write the day exactly as you hope it's going to look. And that has transformed my life. Like when I was living in New York, I felt like the tectonic plates of the universe shifted in order to get me to LA. And then I did it again when we were trying to move here. I've done it so many times, and it's eerie how much it has changed my life. Because, you know, scientifically then we're looking for ways to get us there. Yeah. But it's crazy.
Well, we noticed too, so for us in our business, we noticed like the work, the effort, the seeds you plant right now, they come to fruition 6 months from now. So it's like we can look back and be like, in April, we're going to be like, oh, that's the work we did in October. You know, like a lot of those flowers bloom then. And it's like, so putting that pen to paper and setting your intentions, it's like, yeah, if you keep doing that every month or 6 months or whatever, it's exciting what you can make happen.
That reminds me of the best case scenario journal prompt.
Oh,
and that's kind of similar of like, what do you want to happen? Like best case scenario, this is how I'm spending my day. This is what's coming in my bank account. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm doing. And it's, you're just putting it out in the universe, present tense. This is how I'm living. And it just makes you feel so good after.
Raises your vibe, and then the universe matches it, right?
And then you make it happen. I mean, really. And then I'm like sitting here like, did I write down these? Because now we've started an after school program in a middle school in LA and a day camp that's going to launch in November through Confident Concerts. I'm like, did I write those things down? Like, how did these happen? But yeah, now I remember like I had so many conversations with parents around town being like, this doesn't exist. We need a day camp for this. And that's why it exists. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I like the this or something better.
Yeah.
This or something better.
That's my favorite too.
Yeah. I love it. Well, like I said, I love the work that you're doing. I can't wait to see what this becomes. Like you said, it started messy, and now you're at this point where all of these different scenarios are happening. Different schools do it differently based off what they want. And it's like, it sounds like a really good partnership with you and schools and what they need, with the overall intention to boost all of their confidence, all of their mental health. So thank you again for the work that you're doing. And like I said, we can't wait to watch and see the rest of it unfold. And I'm going to try and get you in my kids' schools, because next year, 2 years from now, my kids will be in 3 different schools. So maybe we just get you in all 3 schools. You can just do a little Minnesota tour.
I would love that. I really want to come to Minnesota.
Yeah.
I've never been, and I've heard it's so beautiful.
All right. You guys heard it. My Minnesota. We have a lot of Minnesota people.
Let's make it happen.
Yep.
Oh, Caley, we leave our listeners with a piece of gold, a quote that speaks to you. Would you please send us off today with your quote?
Well, I've obviously already said it 10 times, and I'm so sorry, but you're going to hear it again.
I love it.
Keep going. You're one of the brave ones.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold.
Woo!
Oh,
You're our last guest of the season, and it was so
the same
good.
No, people need to hear things, 6 times for it to settle in. So